One of the biggest fears ICU nurses have about CRNA school isn't the academics, it's the financial reality. Because CRNA school can cost over $200,000, and for about 3 years, you probably won't have any income. So now you're in school, you're also giving up your ICU salary, and if you don't plan for it the right way, it can get stressful very quickly. So most programs cost somewhere between $80,000 to $200,000 in tuition alone, and many students graduate with $150,000 to $200,000 in debt. And I remember when I was looking into CRNA school, this was one of the biggest things on my mind. So financially, CRNA school can feel like a massive leap, but here's why many nurses still decide to do it. Once you're finished, CRNAs often earn over $200,000 per year, and in many markets even more. And that's what made me take the risk, because even though the cost was high up front, I knew the long-term return was going to make it worth it, which means the financial investment can be recovered faster than most people expect. So the real question is, how do ICU nurses actually afford CRNA school? And here's the part that most people don't realize. Nobody pays for CRNA school with just one strategy. I didn't. Most people don't. It's usually a combination of a few things working together. So let me walk you through how this actually works. For many students, federal student loans are the foundation of how CRNA school gets paid for. And most people start with direct unsubsidized loans, which allow about $20,500 per year. And this is usually the first step for a reason. They tend to have more favorable terms compared to other loan options, like fixed interest rates and more flexible repayment options. But here's the problem. That alone usually isn't enough to cover the full cost of attendance for CRNA school. In the past, many students filled the gap using the Grad PLUS loan. These loans allowed you to borrow up to the full cost of attendance, which meant tuition, even living expenses could be covered. But here's what's changing. Grad PLUS loans are being phased out for new borrowers starting July 1st, 2026, which means going forward, students may not be able to rely on federal loans alone to cover everything. And in my case, I started with direct unsubsidized loans, but I still needed additional funding to make it work. So instead of using Grad PLUS loans, I actually used a Texas loan program to cover the remaining cost. That program helped me bridge the gap between what federal loans covered and what school and living expenses actually cost. And like many state-based or private-style loans, it required a credit approval and it didn't have the same federal protections. But for me, I wasn't planning on using loan forgiveness programs. I knew I was going to be working as a CRNA and earning a higher income, so my plan was to pay the loans off aggressively. So in that situation, using a state-based loan to fill the gap made sense for me. So the big takeaway here is start with federal loans first, then check with your state higher education board to see if there are any state-based loan programs available. Because in some cases, those can help cover the gap before you move on to private loans. And if those aren't an option, that's when most people start looking at private loans to fill the remaining cost. As federal loan options become more limited, many students turn to private loans to fill the gap. Because the reality is, federal loans alone usually don't cover the full cost of CRNA school. You're getting about $20,500 per year from direct unsubsidized loans, but when you factor in tuition, fees, living expenses, the total cost is significantly higher. So private loans are often used to bridge that difference. These come from banks or private lenders, and they can make it possible to actually afford attending the program. But this is where things start to change a bit. Private loans come with a trade-off. They typically require a credit check and sometimes a cosigner. They may have higher variable interest rates, and they don't offer income-driven repayment plans. They also don't have the same forgiveness options as federal loans, and this is where a lot of people start to feel the pressure. Because now you're taking on debt that's less flexible. So while private loans can absolutely help make CRNA school possible, they require more planning and intention. That's why most students use federal loans first, then use state-based options if available, and only use private loans for what's left over. Another big piece of the puzzle is saving before you start CRNA school. A lot of ICU nurses aim to have around $30,000 to $50,000 saved up before starting the program. And there's a reason for that. That money can cover a large portion of your living expenses while you're in school. So things like rent, groceries, and transportation. And if your monthly expenses are around $2,000 to $2,500, having $30,000 to $50,000 saved can cover up to 12 to 18 months of living costs, which means you don't have to borrow as much as a student. And every dollar you don't borrow is a dollar you don't have to pay interest on later. And in my case, I had about 35,000 saved up before starting CRNA school. And at that time, I thought that was pretty solid, but looking back, having more would have given me a lot more peace of mind. Because once you're in school, your income goes to zero, but your expenses don't. And I definitely felt that. At first, things felt manageable, but then real life starts happening. Car issues, unexpected expenses, just day-to-day costs start adding up. And I remember thinking this money is going faster than I expected. So while saving won't cover everything, it can significantly reduce how much you need to borrow. And most people don't build that savings overnight. It usually happens over a few years of working in the ICU. For example, saving 1,000 a month is 12,000 per year and almost 50,000 over 4 years. So some people accelerate this by picking up extra shifts, doing travel nursing assignments, or temporarily living below their lifestyle. The goal isn't to pay for CRNA school in cash, it's to reduce how much debt you graduate with and give yourself financial cushion while you're in the program. Another major factor for a lot of CRNA students is having a spouse or a partner who continues working during the program. CRNA school is extremely demanding, so most programs strongly discourage you to work while you're enrolled. So for many people, the household temporarily shifts to one income. And in my case, I was extremely fortunate to have my wife working while I was in the program. Her income helped cover a lot of our living expenses like housing, groceries, utilities, and transportation. And that made a huge difference. Because instead of taking out loans for both tuition and living expenses, I could focus more on school without borrowing as much money for day-to-day life. And that can significantly reduce the total debt you graduate with. Now, obviously, living on one income for a few years is not easy. It requires an adjustment, but a lot of couples look at it as a temporary sacrifice for a much higher earning career on the other side. If you do have a partner, their income can make a major difference in how much you need to borrow and how stressful those years feel financially. Another path to consider is military or service-based programs. And this is an option really best suited for those people who have some level of interest in serving, not just using it as a way to fund school. Programs through the Army, Navy, or Air Force offer a structured route to becoming a CRNA. Through these programs, your CRNA school can be partially or fully funded, you may receive a salary during training, and in some cases, additional bonuses. In exchange, you commit to serving as a CRNA for a set number of years after graduation. And I actually looked into this myself. I applied for the Air Force HPSP scholarship, and it was a pretty long process. A lot of paperwork, there were medical screenings, multiple interviews, and I really thought it might work out, but ultimately I was not selected, and at that point I had to decide whether I wanted to go through that process again, and I chose not to. But I do have friends who went the military route, both active duty and reserves, and they're incredible people, incredible anesthesia providers. So for the right person, this is a really strong route. Not only from a financial standpoint, but because you're doing something meaningful. You're taking care of service members and playing a role in a much bigger mission. So while this path isn't for everyone, for those who feel called to serve, it can mean graduating with little to no debt, gaining unique experience, and starting your career with a strong sense of purpose. So when you zoom out, CRNA school isn't funded by one perfect solution. It's built piece by piece. So for most ICU nurses, it's a combination of federal loans, private-based loans, savings, and sometimes support from a spouse or programs like the military. And that's really the key. No single piece makes this work on its own. It's how all of them come together. Because in reality, most people aren't walking into CRNA school with everything figured out financially. They're putting together a plan step by step and adjusting along the way. And here's the part that most people don't talk about, the return on investment. Let's say you graduate with $180,000 in student loan debt, and you start working making $220,000 to $280,000 per year, and some markets even more. Even after taxes and living expenses, many CRNAs are able to aggressively pay down the debt in 3 to 5 years. And after that, your income doesn't go towards debt anymore. It goes towards building wealth, investing, buying back your time, and creating long-term financial freedom. Which is why for many nurses, CRNA school isn't just an expense, it's a turning point financially. If you're an ICU nurse thinking about CRNA school, the biggest takeaway is this. You don't need a perfect financial plan to start. You just need a realistic one. Most people figure it out step by step using a combination of these strategies. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to the channel. I make videos about CRNA school, anesthesia, and the financial side of the career, so you can go into it with a clear plan and not just hope that it works out. And if you're currently saving for CRNA school, drop a comment below. I'd be interested to hear what your strategy looks like.